Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Arcane Secrets of the Craft. This is episode 3, Definitions and Entomology, part 3. There is no speech in the beginning of this episode. I'm just going to get right into the definitions, as I have 25 to get through, as the next episode will be the last episode in this series, or this mini-series. And then we'll be moving on to the next topic finally. Let us begin. Alright. Mystical. An occurrence relating to a supernatural or paranormal event that has some kind of obscure meaning where the origins may be unknown. Mysticism. Definition. The study of esoteric knowledge to obtain insight and understanding into the world of spirits, deities, and religion, as well as magical practices of the occult, truths and secrets that are beyond the normal understanding of the average person. Mystic. Definition. A person practicing mysticism. Mystical. Alright. It's an occurrence relating to the paranormal, supernatural, or something relating to magic. It's an event where people would have seen and wouldn't have been able to generally explain it. For lack of a better word, it would have been like similar to a phenomenon. Alright, mysticism. Mysticism is the study of esoteric knowledge. It is very similar to the definition on occultism. See episode 3, part 2 for that. And a mystic is a person practicing mysticism, similar to an occultist. Also see episode 3, part 2 for the relation to those. Pretty simple. Okay, next group. Myth and Mythos. These two get confused for the same thing all the time, and there's a good reason for that. They're almost the exact same thing. Myth. Definition. A traditional story or set of stories that have a symbolic narrative especially relevant to one or more unknown origins corresponding to an early historical event of a particular group of people, a place, or even an animal, also typically involving an explanation of some kind of phenomenon. Okay. Mythos. Definition. Either a literal or oral set of stories set in a traditional narrative theme, set in a structure of beliefs, referring to the origin surrounding a historical truth or event with a relative significance and meaning for a particular culture or religion or group of people. Okay, now, what's the difference between these two? Mythos. It's a literary or written story or an oral story referring to the origins surrounding a historical truth particular to a culture or religion. This is where you get things like how the world came to be, or how the world is going to end, or how a god came to be, or the story of the gods. That would be a mythos. It's usually relating to the beginning. And the myth is a story that could be related back to the mythos. That's the difference between the two. Okay, next group. Medium and necromancy. These two are very closely related, and you'll see why in a second. Medium. Definition. A person with the ability who can serve as an intermediary, communicating information between the living and the dead, who is able to either see and or hear the dead, as well as possibly being able to also channel the entity, allowing them to speak through the medium. This can be extended to ethereal beings, otherwise known as outsiders. Necromancy, or death diviner. Definition. The practice of understanding the spirit world by communicating, controlling, manipulating, and divining the future through the dead. Now, this is the difference between the two. A medium generally can only communicate with them, like you would communicate with another person. Now, most necromancers are also mediums, but necromancers can do far more than just communicate with the dead. They can use the dead for a lot of different things if you know what you're doing. You can control them. You can work them like puppets. You can manipulate them. You can use them to help you divine the future. That depends on your brand of necromancy, if you like. And necromancy itself, the word is two words in one. Necro, meaning dead. Mancy is relating to divining or divination. That's where the word actually comes from, and the meaning of. It's a much more detailed than I can give you in this short definition, but we will be going over necromancy in more detail in the future, I promise, as it is my first specialty, and it is near and dear to my heart. Next group is demon, demonic, demonology, demonologist. Demon. Definition. Spirit or evil spirit. Demonic. Definition. Resembling or characteristics of a demon or evil malevolent spirit preparing or already doing harmful acts. Demonology. Definition. The study of angels, demons, as well as other outsiders or ethereal beings and beliefs surrounding them. Demonologist. Definition. The practice of the study of demonology, of summoning, invoking, binding, exorcising outsiders, etc. Okay. Demon. A demon just means spirit or evil spirit, and this definition is mostly can be credited to the Christians, as the word demon is related to fallen angels or deities from religions that were conquered by the Christians, and they got all mixed into what we traditionally think as the word demon, a dark and evil entity from the pits of hell. That's where this comes from, and the misconception surrounding it. Not to say these dark or evil malevolent spirits are kind in any way. They are evil, and they do fit the stereotype that we think they fit, for good reason. Alright. Demonic is relating to characteristics of a demon, meaning a spirit or outsider that is evil that will try to take over your body and then need to be exorcised out of you, or generally try to harm you in some way. It can be related similar to a poltergeist, but a poltergeist is generally related to a mortal spirit, while a demonic spirit is related to something in the astral or the ethereal. That's the basic difference between those two. Okay. Demonology is the study of angels and demons, spirits, outsiders, anything relating to the astral or the ethereal. It's the study of all of them, how to summon them, how to bind them, how to banish them, how to exorcise them. You're studying the nature of them and their origins and their histories, their mythos, for example. That's the difference. Now, demonologist is the practice of the study of demonology, of summoning, invoking, binding, and exorcising. Demonology is the study of demons or astral or ethereal beings, and a demonologist puts what they've studied into practice. You're starting to notice a trend, I'm sure, and there's a reason for that. A lot of these words are just either the meaning of, and then one is putting them into practice. Okay, next group. Astral body or ethereal form, astral projection. The actual definitions versus the implied definitions are vastly different, as you're about to say. Astral, definition, relating to the stars. Implied definition, relating to a non-physical realm of existence. Astral body or astral form, definition, heavenly body. Definition implied, a mirror image of an incorporeal body similar to a spiritual form. Astral projection, Definition: the capability of separating the spiritual body from the physical body to travel throughout the world, universe, and to other realms of existence. Okay. Astral is relating to the stars, while an astral body is relating to generally a cluster of stars such as moon, sun, earth, etc. When we think of these words, we're really thinking of the implied meaning when people talk about them and write about them, and when we read about them, we're really getting to the implied definition as it's related to the mystical or the supernatural or the magical. So the implied of this is the definition for astral, relating to a non-physical realm of existence. That's what we think of, not the actual definition. The astral body or the astral form we think of as a mirror image of ourselves, but in a spiritual form. And we'll get into these topics in much more detail later. An astral projection is the capability of separating the spiritual form from the physical form and going outward to the world and universe or astral and ethereal realms. This is the difference, and these words get confused for the same thing or are used interchangeably sometimes when people don't understand the real meanings of them. And I just wanted you to know the meanings of the traditional definitions of them, even though they probably will not apply to magic as a whole. But I wanted you to know the difference all the same. Next group, and it's not really a group, you'll see what I mean in a second. Grimoire. Definition: a manual of instructions in the use of magic. Special note: a spellbook, grimoire, and Book of Shadows all reference the exact same thing. The term Book of Shadows was coined in 1949 by a student of Gerald Gardner, High Priestess Doreen Valiente. The term Book of Shadows was from a 1949 magazine known as Occult Observer. Okay, this doesn't require a whole lot of explanation, obviously. Grimoires, a Book of Shadow, and a spellbook are literally the exact same thing. People think the word Book of Shadows is hundreds of years old, and it's not. It's actually a very modern term. Prior to the word grimoire, which is from the 17th century, it would have just been known as a spellbook or a manual on magic. Nothing more than that. Okay. Next group. Hex and curse. Hex. Definition: a targeted attack through ritual magic intended to harm a specific individual. Curse. Definition: to wish evil. Definition implied: a magical spell intended to do harm to a parcel of land or a bloodline. Okay, this is the basic difference between these two. A hex is individualized. It's usually meant to target one person at a time, generally speaking. A curse generally affects a bloodline, so one practitioner has enough hatred in them to literally curse a whole bloodline. It could be bad luck, people will die early, financial ruin, something. Or it's a parcel of land that's been cursed. Usually this happens when enough people died in one place. You could kind of think like General Custer's Last Stand at Little Bighorn. Enough people died in that one place where the land itself could be cursed. Or Gettysburg, the spirits have cursed the land because they can't rest. That's an example of a curse. So a hex is generally individualized, and when I say generally individualized, what do I mean by that? If you were in a court case and you were using a sweetening jar to sweeten in the entire jury, that's technically a curse, but it doesn't really fit the criteria of one. It's really more of a hex. So it's a gray area, or you can say a minor exception to the rule, but for the most part, a hex is only going to affect a single person at a time, while a curse will generally affect a bloodline or a parcel of land, and anything on that land will be cursed. Bad luck and misery will follow anyone who owns it or lives on it, such as crops dying or something to this effect. Okay. Next group, Warlock and Witch. This is a really, really important definition, so please pay attention. Warlock, definition, oathbreaker, betrayer, devil worshipper, liar. Witch, definition, wise one, a healer, diviner, enchanter. Okay, I want to make this very clear. A warlock is not a male witch. I extensively researched this definition, this entomology. There is no good meaning associated with warlock. It all references roughly oathbreaker, betrayer, devil worshipper, and liar. If you're a man and you're practicing witchcraft, you are not a warlock. You are a witch. A witch is not referencing a female or feminine aspect. The word witch is a unisex title for men and women. Warlock is never to be used as a good thing, under any circumstances. Don't believe me? Go research it and prove me wrong. I wish you the best of luck. You will not find anything that says a warlock is related to the word witch. It does not exist. Witch is generally for witchcraft, and a warlock is an oathbreaker. That's why when you break your oath in a coven, or we can say Wiccans, for example, or really anything, or here's a good one. The Golden Dawn. You have to take an oath when you join, just like the Freemasons or the Skulls. Break that oath, you would be known as a warlock, an oathbreaker. As you can see, this is important for me, for you to know this, because I'm tired of this term being used as a male witch when it's far, far from it. Please note the difference. I wanted to make sure I was very, very poignant with this definition. Moving on. Chakra, chi, and ki. Alright. Chakra. Definition. Major centers of energy in the body where all energy flows from. Chi or ki. Definition. Chi is defined as bioenergy or bioelectric energy that flows through the body of all living things. Okay. The word chakra comes from India, and chi or ki will come from either China or Japan, and most Asian countries have a similar word with the similar, or if not the exact same definition to meaning energy of the body in some variation. These two are very similar, and they get used interchangeably, but these two definitions can somewhat be used interchangeably. The difference is the chakras are representing specific points in the body usually. That's the vague difference between them. Okay, last group. Circle, Coven, Order, and Cult. Let us begin. Circle. Definition. Refers to a small group of practitioners, normally between 3 to 7 members, that study the practice of mysticism and occultism together. Also, their resources are limited, and there is no hierarchy as everyone is equal. Code of conduct consists of nothing more than general polite behavior. Special note, this is where the phrase was coined, "We are all equal inside the circle." Coven. Definition. A group of people who meet regularly. Definition implied. Traditional covens are normally a family affair with the possible exceptions of close friends of the family joining. Traditionally, covens are between 7 to 13 people that may have a hierarchy with titles, some rules, and a code of conduct. History. Margaret Murray popularized the idea that all witches across Europe met in groups of 13 witches, which they called covens. This is not true. She made this up because I and other historians that are far more educated than I am, have looked for this reference and no one can find it. This is something she just made up, and it's something that got popularized and people believe. Try to find a reference before her. I wish her the best of luck. I can't do it, and I don't know anyone else that can. But maybe you'll be the one. Moving on. Order. Definition is a large group of people, ranging from dozens to hundreds or more, with nearly unlimited resources, similar to the Freemasons. Also, there is usually a strict hierarchy, rules, and codes of conduct, ranks based on either seniority or speciality, with an associated title corresponding to the different levels of knowledge, with a leader at the head or ruled by a round table of the oldest and wisest members. Cult. Definition. A relatively small group of people, generally having religious beliefs or practices, dedicated towards a person, figure, deity, or object, also regarded by others as strange or sinister in nature. Okay, this seemed like a good place to end the third episode, part 3. We'll pick this up next week for the conclusion of the miniseries. Anyway, I wish you all the best of luck with your research, and go in peace.